Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, March 7th, 2017. I'm Lafern Fraser with the details. The legal team of the opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP, today presented their arguments successfully in the Court of Appeal in St. Lucia to have the election petitions reinstated to be heard in a local court. The Court of Appeal cited the ruling made by Justice Brian Cottle in 2016 to have the petitions thrown out because of improperly filing as having apparent bias, and that the hearing of the petitions and motions to strike be remitted to a high court to be heard by a different judge expeditiously. The appeal court also awarded costs to the appellants in the lower court and the Court of Appeal. Commenting on the ruling, First Vice President of the NDP, Major St. Clair Leacock, congratulated their legal team and described the achievement as a journey that is just.
Well, like so many Vincentians and the vast majority of NDP supporters, I'm elated by the good news. And very quickly, I congratulate my good old school friend, Sunny Storky John, Queen's Counsel, and his team for a wonderful job. I'm glad that we have had a good outcome there in St. Lucia. Of course, I want to also have to congratulate Mr. Eustace, who persevered in the early days, and Dr. Friday, who was taking over for him.
The Central Kingstown MP is of the opinion that defeat in the appeal court also sets the stage for another call for fresh elections.
This is but a continuation of a journey which we think is just, and I trust and look forward that at the next phase that the New Democratic Party will have an even greater success, and you know what that means, elections of one kind and or the other. So the race is off if we get to that, and I believe we'll get there.
Meanwhile, commenting on the ruling on radio this afternoon, leader of the Unity Labour Party, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, said he accepts the verdict of the Court of Appeal. However, the NDP scored no political victory as they may want to believe. Dr. Gonsalves said the arguments for the representatives, which include Central Leeward MP Sir Louis Straker, North Windward MP Montgomery Daniel, the Supervisor of Elections and the Attorney General are 100% correct, and that he is confident they will prevail in the end. The Prime Minister said in the meantime he and his government are continuing with their agenda. Officials from regional and local security entities will, for the next 5 days, participate in the second Regional Border Management Training Workshop, which is underway here in SVG. The workshop is being hosted by the Ministry of National Security in collaboration with the CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security, or IMPACS, along with support from the European Union and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The workshop is aimed at building capacity among border security entities as well as strengthening borders across the region. Nikita Tony has more on the opening ceremony in this report.
Team Strengthening Borders, the 5-day Regional Border Management Training Workshop, opened here on Monday, March 6th at the Foreign Affairs Conference Room. The workshop is being hosted by the Ministry of National Security through a partnership with the CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security Impacts, with funding from the European Union. Highlighting IMPACT's interest in strengthening regional security through capacity building, Executive Director of CARICOM IMPACTS, Francis Forbes, said the organization continues to foster productive partnerships, both regionally and otherwise, as a strategic approach in implementing its regional crime and security agenda.
This capacity building effort is part of a much broader program of support to the regional security sector, financed by the European Union under the auspices of the provisions of the 10th European Development Fund. This support takes an integrated approach aimed at providing the training and increased technological support through the expansion and enhancement of the APIS system to the remainder of the 5 member states and the customs and intelligence units within member states.
Outlining the significance of pursuing human capacity building opportunities, especially within border security entities, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security Godfred Pompey called for a balanced approach towards border security, which she noted cannot come only through enforcement, but also through facilitation.
Border security is all about asserting territorial sovereignty by enforcing one's boundary and protecting it by permanent surveillance. This calls into play the critical role of the police, Coast Guard, Port Authority, Customs, and Immigration, all working in unison. All units must work in tandem to ensure that our borders are protected. I'm confident that this week's program will shed new light on the roles and responsibilities of both players, as well as reinforcing existing good practices as it relates to border security.
Head of the Regional Cooperation and Trade Section of the European Union delegation to Barbados, Luca Paratoni, highlighted that the EU, through its many initiatives, continues to lend support to organizations such as CARICOM, as they too are concerned with challenges posed to crime and security.
Challenge posed by widespread crime, high rates of lethal violence, and overall deterioration of citizen security is particularly acute and urgent in the Caribbean. Caribbean EU Partnership Strategy, which was adopted by the CARIFORUM Council of Ministers and the European Council of Ministers in 2012. There is also the Strategy on Citizen Security in Central America and the Caribbean, which was adopted by the EU in 2014. And I would say this is very much aligned to the CARICOM strategy, crime and security strategy. So, I mean, we do have a strategic approach, and we are working in alignment with the regional priorities.
Pointing out that there is a need for change in the approach, outlook, and understanding of border security, Chief Immigration Officer Stanford Hamilton noted that this week's training will seek to enhance the services provided by border security officers.
It will be a constructive first step towards creating a single, unified, efficient, and professional border agency. Our goal as a department is to continue to create the opportunities that will lead to the advancement of our hard-working officers' service delivery and professionalism, and also to ensure that obstacles do not undermine the mission or our ability to perform that mission with excellence.
Noting that law enforcement officers are often overwhelmed with dealing with transnational crime, Comptroller of the Customs and Excise Department, Erwin Phils, noted that the training comes at an opportune time, especially with regards to the interview and interrogation training.
It is my hope, therefore, that during the next 5 days, the various aspects of interviewing and interrogation, including the legal considerations, the ethical standards to be observed, and the different techniques that can be utilized when conducting interviews or interrogations, will help in strengthening our administrative capability to effectively interview and interrogate offenders.
Featured speaker at Monday's opening ceremony was Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who urged all participants to make good use of the knowledge gained. The 5-day training workshop will culminate on Friday, March 10, 2017. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
The issue of reparations has to be treated as a court case, and unless the relevant authorities present a series of proof as to what happened, who were affected, and how, such a case is weak. That's the view of historian and keynote speaker at this year's International Garifuna Conference, Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, as he addressed the issue of reparations in an interview with SVG-TV News on Monday. Dr. Honeychurch, who is also a member of the Committee for Reparations in Dominica, noted that there exists a series of events which occurred here in SVG which will aid in organizing a reparations movement for the Garifuna people.
My role in Dominica was essentially to put together treaties, for instance, that had been broken. Now, here in Euromais, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have the issues of the 1773 treaty and all of the issues that related and built up to 1797. And when you cover those issues and you present them in a systematic manner, then I would expect that you would have a case to show. They had become so closely entwined with the love for their island as it was described. And to be banished was almost worse than death, because you were being ripped away from your family, from your friends, from the island that you were born on or that you had got accustomed for if you had come from Africa and grown up here. So what you have to do in this case is, although you can complain generally about the issues, you have here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines a litany of definite acts which really attack the very roots of the people's association with their land. And this, in terms of reparations, whether it achieves anything or not, it is extremely important to have it on the record so that you know what went on and the effects that it had on.
Commending the work of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, Dr. Honeychurch further advised the Vincentian public to become aware of their Garifuna culture and heritage, as it can go a long way in further developing the nation.
What the organization is doing, and organizations like it across the Caribbean, is to try to come to terms with these issues and to act upon them. And that is why it is so important, the work that is being done. And even by visiting, for instance, I just saw the beginning of the making of one of the huts, the recreation of one of the huts with the thatch and the round wood and all that kind of stuff. I mean, even this, from an educational point of view, from an inspirational point of view, this is an important contribution, because people can see physically what life was like and how you could live on this island without importing everything.
This country will join the rest of the world in celebrating International Women's Day tomorrow, March 8th, and the Ministry of National Mobilization and Gender Affairs will be hosting a march from the Victoria Park at 10 a.m. to mark the occasion. Gender Coordinator Polly Oliver said several women in various fields will be honored at a short ceremony to be held at the Audit Car Park.
Categories of persons or women that would have made contribution, like in culture, in the fisheries division, even the chef, we're hoping that they will come out, and public servants, to really show where women has come from and where we really want to go, where we want to take our efforts. The theme is Be Bold for Change, making women's worth count, and we know that women would have been making contribution and will continue to make contribution. We really want to recognize that.
And the National Council of Women will have a two-day workshop as part of their commemoration of International Women's Day tomorrow, March 8th. President Beverly Richards says that the event will begin from 9 a.m. at the Ministry of Education conference room at the Careers Building. Richards says the seminar will not only highlight domestic violence, but will teach participants how to write projects seeking funding to address the issue.
The world of work is changing, and with significant implications for women. On one hand, we have globalization, technological and digital revolution, and the opportunities they bring. And on the other hand, the growing informality of labor, unstable livelihoods, incomes, new fiscal and trade policies, and environmental impacts, all of which must be addressed in the context of women's economic empowerment. In 2015, world leaders adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, placing gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls at the heart of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Achievement of the goals, including ending poverty, promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth, reducing inequalities within and between countries, and achieving gender equality.
The head of the Women's Council also noted that this country continues to engage in activities that support the United Nations Millennium Goals to help empower women and girls.
Okay, so we are having this workshop tomorrow at the Careers. It's at the Ministry of Education Annex Conference Room, which is located in the Careers building on the first floor. We are having this workshop that is against domestic violence, where we are asking we will be training our participants how to pull information, how to do data analysis and the methodology, and also project management in regards to domestic violence, how to write projects in regards to domestic violence.
The Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit today celebrates its 5th anniversary with an exhibition under the Singer Gallery. Task force members were seen highlighting the issue to passers-by and handing out leaflets as part of a collaborative effort with the International Organization for Migration, or the IOM, and the European Union. Superintendent Ruth Jacobs said the theme commemorating their milestone is Alive at 5, and that the collaborative effort with funding agencies will also seek to formulate a memorandum of understanding and national action plan.
I feel great because we have accomplished much, and when we started it was Station Sergeant Simmons and I, and we went there and we formulated a mission statement. We also formulated a vision statement, and we set out to sensitize the schools, the students. We also set out to sensitize the parents and the teachers, and we have sensitized students of every school in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from Fitzhugh right up to Kingstown, Fancy down to Kingstown, and all of the schools in Beckway. We have also sensitized community groups. We have also sensitized faith-based organizations and law enforcement officers, and we also conducted training for some of our law enforcement officers. So we have been doing a great job, and I'm very, very, very proud of our accomplishment.
Assessing the work done thus far by the Anti-Human Trafficking Unit, Superintendent Jacobs said she is extremely pleased that her task force is being empowered and empowering others.
We have the technical assistance from the International Organization of Migration, and they are assisting us in strengthening our national plan of action and also to formulate a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, between all the stakeholders with human trafficking. At present, we have a task force that is set up to deal with human trafficking that is headed by the Honorable Prime Minister, and we have the Permanent Secretary who is a part of it, and we have a working group, the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit, along with Labour Department, Immigration Department, and National Mobilization. So we have been doing great work.
Consultant with the International Organization for Migration of Trafficking in Latin America and Europe, Linda Erickson praised the SVG unit and urged persons to be vigilant for signs of human trafficking.
A person that seems not to get in paid for the work that he or she is doing, a person that have perhaps even physical signs of violence. So there are many signs when we are out in restaurants, in workshops, in the streets. It can be everywhere, so it's not only in the airports. As you know, trafficking can only be both international and internal, so it can also be between the islands. It can be for labor exploitation, it can be for begging in the streets, it can be for sexual services. So trafficking has many heads, and we have to be alert, and once you think that something seems out of order, just call the police or some of the NGOs that are working on these issues, and they will be able to continue further.
A police investigation has been launched into the murder of Philan Gordon, a 35-year-old resident of Barralee, at approximately 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, March 1st, 2017. Police were informed that Gordon's partially decomposed body was seen in the Johnson Mountains, Belial. His body was discovered and officially pronounced dead by the district doctor. A post-mortem examination performed on the body today revealed that Gordon died as a result of exsanguination, or severe loss of blood from a shotgun injury to the chest. Gordon was last seen on Sunday, February 26th, 2017. Gordon's death is being recorded as the second homicide in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the year 2017. Queen's Counsel Parnell Campbell is calling for the preservation of traditional activities on the Grenadine island of Beckway, making mention to an editorial posted in the weekend's newspaper by the Beckway Onshore Management Committee, which is appealing to promoters and entertainment entities to comply with the terms and conditions of refraining from hosting non-sanctioned events during the Beckway Easterville season. Campbell is of the opinion that the issue seemed to be one of clashing of cultures, which he explained is the merge of traditional events with modern ones. The veteran lawyer urged persons to abide by the laws of the country and extend consideration for the scheduled annual Easter events on the island.
Bequia is a relatively small community. And if we are to preserve the cultural expressions for which Bequia has become world famous, they have to take active, energetic, and in cases aggressive steps to make sure that these traditional activities are not totally swept aside for newer activities which really haven't got much to do with culture. So that I'm urging all concerned to be sensitive and to cooperate with the committee, which is trying to do something sensible, namely to preserve genuine cultural norms and forms. Bequia is a small ecosystem.
The Queen's Counsel urged persons, specifically promoters, to be cognizant that this country is also on a competing platform with the rest of the Caribbean, and they must be sensitive to the development of the tourism product.
When people come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they are treated with unreasonable levels of noise wherever they go and can't get a good night's sleep. You think they are going to come back here? Or you think they're going to encourage persons of their acquaintance to come to a noisy place? No. And we should be sensitive to the need for tourism development. So that let us be sensible. And as the Bequia Committee has said, they're not trying to stop people having their fetes and their parties. But two things must be taken into consideration. One, the volume of the music played, and two, the length of time over which it is played.
The Bequia Easter Regatta activities are scheduled to take place from April 14th through the 17th. As various secondary schools across SVG continue to roll out their projects for the 2017 RBC Young Leaders Program, the St. Vincent Grammar School earlier today officially presented the school's representatives and project objectives. Under the sub-theme Volunteering Together and Impact Lasting Forever, the young leaders will aim to create a better community through volunteerism as they operate under the broader program theme of I Am We, Volunteering for Impact. Nikita Tony has more in this report.
Together, and impact lasting forever. That's the theme under which the 2017 St. Vincent Grammar School Young Leaders will carry out their initiatives as part of this year's RBC Young Leaders Program. Commending the young men on being selected to represent the institution, Deputy Headmaster Alfred John expressed his hope that at the end of the program, all young leaders would be better placed to make a difference in the society.
It was not a mere stroke of luck, but instead the result of your demonstrated leadership potential. I challenge you to take full advantage of the opportunity to develop your leadership skills as you work together to effect some positive social change in your community. By the time of its conclusion, you will all be willing to work selflessly in the service of others for the creation of a more just and humane society.
Coordinating teacher of the 2017 Young Leaders, Jason Alexis, outlined that while the RBC Young Leader Program is indeed a competition, focus must be placed on the chance to transform the lives of the participants, guided on a path of leadership and responsibility.
Even if the Young Leaders Program might call for a great deal of sacrifice on the part of the coordinating teachers, We know of the numerous benefits of the program to the students. The time invested in the lives of each student involved contributes to their future development and that of the country as a whole. They will gain new knowledge and experiences, develop their leadership and management skills, and most of all, establish new friendships while learning the value of working together.
Highlighting that the chosen sub-team truly represents what the 2017 Young Leaders hope to achieve, SVGS Young Leader President Gian Paul Baker noted that through their work, the group hopes to create a lasting impression on their community.
A movement of young people geared towards promoting volunteerism in a world where no one wants to do free labor. We hope to create a domino effect as well through our actions, which will lead to the formation of the next generation of volunteers. Our participation in this program is not just for a certificate or a prize. This is an important stepping stone for us to not only grow as individuals, but to become functioning members of society.
Featured speaker at the event, Reverend Adolph Davis, emphasized the I-we concept as being a deliberate expression to help persons understand their need for one another, which he noted has been instilled since the beginning of creation.
God was making a very important point, that this I-we concept, this we need one another concept, is really a principle about community. That we have to live and function in community. That we have to understand that we need community if we are to survive and to do well in a society. And I want to challenge you as young leaders, as young men, as you understand the importance of our society to need one another and to build in a sense of mutual necessity and interdependence, please, St. Vincent needs you to be a responsible man.
The SVGS 2017 Young Leaders are seeking the support of the entire Vincentian public as they execute their project, aiming to create a better community. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.